Alright, so I'm going to be adjusting my valves. So let's look at the valves here. So this side is obviously the exhaust, so where the header is, and this side's the intake. So here's the valves here themselves. And this is right here's the adjuster. This is the tappet. You got your lock nut and your tappet inside. So that's how you adjust it. All right. So Moto Guzzi, as far as I know, Moto Guzzi USA says the intake needs to be 4,000s and the exhaust is 6,000s. So I've been doing some research on this, and Moto Guzzi shops and mechanics that's had Moto Guzzi or that sold Moto Guzzi for for quite a while. They recommend actually going 1,000 looser. So basically, what the spec is 4,000 intake, 6,000 exhaust, give or take 1,000, right? So the recommendation is from the mechanics and such is go one looser, so 5,000s and 7,000s. So that's fine. So usually valves normally get tighter as they get older. They don't usually get looser. Sometimes they can get looser, but from my experience with bikes, anyways, they usually get tighter. This is my first Moto Guzzi, and this thing only has 2,000 miles. I only put like 100, maybe 200 miles on this bike now. So it's completely new to me, but just from not necessarily Moto Guzzi experience, but just from valve experience in general on bikes all bikes that I've ever had, and people that I talk to, it's usually always getting tighter. So there's different ways of doing this, of finding the adjustment point. So with I think Moto Guzzi's version is they want you to take off the cover here. This is where the stator is, basically. Want to take this cover off, and there's a alignment marks for timing marks, top dead center and such. So I'm not going to do that because I don't want to break the seal and have to worry about that, and when you do this, oil comes out too, so it's just a big mess. So the easy way to do that is, and you can see that I have the spark plug off, and both sides of my cylinder are the cover and the spark plug is off. So and you want to have the spark plug off to do this method that I'm going to do right now. I'm going to show you. It's basically to spin the engine by the rear wheel, and to do that, you gotta have the rear end jacked up, so that way the rear wheel can move, right? You see my rear wheel moving. So right now it's actually in 6th gear, and the reason why you want it in 6th gear is that when you have it in a taller gear, the rear wheel has more leverage against the engine. If you have it in a lower gear, the engine has more leverage against the wheel. So basically, if I have it in 1st gear, it's going to be very hard for me to move the rear wheel, whereas 6th gear is going to be a lot easier for me to move this. So I'm just going to move this slightly. I'm basically just going to move it forward, spin it forward, just kind of like that. Go forward a little bit at a time. Each time I do this, it spins the engine a few degrees, and that piston is kind of moving through its stroke here. Pistons, moving up and down through the stroke. What you want to do is you want to find the piston top dead center, so basically all the way to the top. And what I'm going to use to find that is I have a little slender, I have a TIG filler rod here. You can use anything that fits into the spark plug hole. I'm just going to basically put it straight in there, and when I spin that wheel forward, I can feel this rod lift, moving out more and out more until it starts to move in. And then I'm like, okay, I just when it just moves in, that means I'm just past that top dead center. So I'm going to spin the wheel backwards just enough so that way it moves out and it gets back to top dead center again. And that's when I know that I'm good at on this side, so I could adjust the intake and exhaust. Then I have to go over to the other side and repeat the same thing because this is it's a 90-degree V twin, right? So the pistons or 90 degrees apart from each other on the crank rotation. So you have to do them individually. Okay, so that's how you set it up. Let's go back to putting the camera down so that way I can free up my hands. I'm doing this. So while I spin the engine, you guys won't be able to see it, but hopefully you guys could at least see my hand here moving. So I can feel that. I can feel it. So I can feel it moving up. Right, I can feel it moving up. Still moving up. Oh, it just moved down. So I'm gonna spin a little backwards, do the same thing backwards. On the wheel. Okay, it's starting to move down again. Oh, spun it too much. Sometimes it's a good idea to go kind of back and forth a little bit, just so you could, for sure you could find that top dead center part. So the thing with a little bit of movement there. I'm not sure you guys can hear that. See, that's the slack there. And the thing with finding the top dead center is that it doesn't really matter which stroke at top dead center you're at. Anytime you're at the top dead center, both valves will be closed. So it doesn't matter if you're at the top dead center for the power stroke or top dead center at the intake stroke. Excuse me. Yeah, intake stroke. The valves will be closed, but just for the sake of the demonstration, I'm gonna find the next top dead center and feel my valves here again. So I'm wiggling this. I'm feeling about how much it moves. I can actually even get my filler gauge, stick it in there right now. Let's do the filler gauge right now and see how nice and tight and loosened it is. See, so this exhaust should be 6 thousandths, right? So it's definitely looser than 6. It's even looser than 7. 7 is still loose. Let's try 8. So 8 thousandths. Okay, 8 thousandths still feels kind of loose. Yeah, this exhaust is definitely loose, and that's the reason why I'm doing this, because my last ride I was paying attention to the sound of the engine. I could hear the ticking. So this one is. So right now this is 9,000, and 9,000 actually feels right as far as how much friction there is as you're speeding this through. Let's try 10,000. 10,000 is no go. Well, if I force it in, it go in, and once it's in there, it's pinching. I could feel that pinchingness. So that tells me that that's too tight. So with the 9,000s, I could feel very light resistance. Actually, let me move the camera over. So right now we're just talking about feel, how the filler gauge feels, as far as figuring out how to figure out what is tight and what's not. So right now again I'm using the 9,000s. So here I am. Actually, I think this one's still a little bit on the loose side. I could barely feel friction there. The key thing with using the filler gauge is that you have to have it in there at just a proper angle where the filler gauge itself is like basically it's parallel with the two contact points. Let's say the bottom part is the valve itself, and the top is the rocker arm. And the filler gauge has to go in there like basically pretty much parallel with those two, because if your filler gauge is going in there and it's like cocked at an angle like this, that will actually cause friction, and it feels like it's tight, but it's not. You actually level it out until it's parallel. That's when you're like, okay, all of a sudden it's looser. So that's why I'm feeling with the 10,000s. If I have slightly of an angle, it feels just right. It feels like, oh, that's good. That's how it should feel. But if I actually get it so that way it's parallel, it actually feels a little bit loose. It's like it barely touches. So if I do that with the 10,000s, if I have it at an angle, it feels totally too tight. It's like it doesn't really want to move. But if I adjust the angle slightly, so that way it's parallel, it feels just right. So actually, this thing is at 10,000. So basically, it's 4 thousandths too loose, or it's 3 thousandths out of spec, because the spec is give or take 1,000, right? So it should be 1,000. Actually, I shouldn't say it is 1,000, because I don't know what the actual give or take spec is. But I know the target spec is 6 thousandths for the exhaust. So I'm gonna assume it's give or take 1,000. So it could be anywhere from 5 thousandths to 7 thousandths, and it should be okay. But this one, it's at 10 thousandths, so that means, you know, it's 3 thousandths out of spec. All right, so that's how you feel for the you know, how tight it is. So that's one set at the top dead center. Let's look at the other top dead center and see if we could feel the same thing, if the same thing happens. Okay, so it's going down, going in. It's going in some more. It's going in some more. Down some more, I should say. Still going down, still going in. Okay, now it's starting to go back up. Up or out. Oh shit. Caused my my thing to bind it, actually, because I had it in at an angle here. I had it in an angle, so it actually did that to the my little feeler here. So I actually had to adjust the angle. So the angle is actually, the piston's going in at this direction, at this angle. Right, the piston's going in at this angle, I believe, and I actually had it like this. So that's why it kind of got hung up. So I had to spin it the opposite direction. Okay, let's get it back at the proper angle. Okay, I can feel it going up. Whoops, going back in again. So go the opposite direction again. Okay, it's going back in, out, in. So it's about right there. So now I found the second top dead center. Let's try and let's feel it for it again. See if it's still the same. So last time I said 9 was a little bit too loose, right? Let's feel this one. Oh, this one's too tight. Okay, I guess I was wrong. This one's too tight. This one's way too tight. So something was open. Let's see. Oh yeah, I can see right here. I can see these two moving. So when those two are moving, that means it's engaged. So that means it's not at the right point on the piston. So now still going in, still going down, still going down. Okay, now the valves, the intake valve's moving. You can see that moving. Hopefully you guys saw that, the valve rotation. Actually, let me adjust the camera. Well, the camera's adjusted right. So the valve is still, the intake valve is still moving. Previously, the exhaust valve is moving. So now it's going back out again. So this should be the proper top dead center right here. Because when the intake opens, that means, oops, I just passed out dead center. Move it back the other way. Okay, so I'm at the top dead center there. So usually as it goes through the stroke, the intake will open up first. Then it goes to the top dead center. That's where the power stroke is, or the compression stroke is. Then the power is. So the next stroke is going to be the power stroke. So basically that top dead center is where we want to be. And let's do this again, and I should get the same results like I did the first time I went around. So there it goes. Number 9 went in pretty easily. Yep. If I line it just right, where it's parallel, there's like almost no resistance. So it's just barely touching with the 9 thousandths and the 10s. If I align it just right, it feels just about right. The friction just about right. So how do you know? You know, obviously you guys on screen, you guys can't tell. What you want to do is think about. Well, actually, this is a bad example, but think about if you take a piece of paper and you basically just pinch your hands on the paper and pull on the paper. If you barely just touch it and there's very light drag, that's probably not enough. It's not, you know, that's still slightly on the loose side. But you pinch the paper a little bit more, and you feel a little bit more drag. But as you're pulling the paper through your fingers, you know, where you're pinching it, there should be just enough drag, enough friction where it doesn't feel like it's where it's loose, where it feels like you still have to use just a little bit of force or muscle to drag it through. That's when you know. But it's still light, you know. It doesn't, as you're pulling that paper through, it doesn't feel like it's like being hung up. If you're pinching your fingers too hard and it's hung up, that means that's too tight. So when you feel that same thing on your valve here with the filler gauge, that means it's too tight. So that's basically the feel right there. Okay, so here I'm at, what was it, 9,000 or 10,000s. So I have to adjust that. So let me do that. Actually, let me do it on another video. This one's getting long-winded.